I just want to talk a little bit about social skills. Social skills is an aspect of life that a lot of the time we just assume people have the tools to know how to socialize, to know how to interact with other people. But a lot of the times people are actually having what I call a crash, resulting in a negative interaction, but not actually sure why. As I've said many times before, every single person in this world is born with their own set of strengths and their own set of weaknesses, their own set of tools and skills that they've been able to develop effortlessly, whereas others require a lot more effort to establish and develop those same skills. Now, social skills for some, or for me, the way that I talk about social skills is about interacting with other people. So knowing how to interact with other people is one thing that it comes naturally for other people, but sometimes it's something that requires a lot more effort. It's harder work, and sometimes all attempts and efforts made to create positive interactions actually end up resulting in the negative interaction, leaving the user a little bit confused as to, well, I don't know what to do. But at the core, the person is still wanting to access the positive interactions with other people, because at the core we're all the same. At the core we all enjoy being with other people, we all want to be loved and we all want to be loved, so that part never changes. But social skills is a massive tool, and I've often said one of the hardest parts of my job at Fabic is actually teaching social skills. And the reason why is because there's so many variables involved. But when I first started teaching social skills, I just started to examine the social skills behaviours of myself and then equally of other people. And attempting to identify, well, how do we teach this massive skill? And an analogy that I've came to understand is that social skills is actually very, very similar to driving a car. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, but hear me out. So when we drive a car, if you take it back to the first moment when you actually first started learning to drive a car, you were given a key, you were given a car, you were positioned in your car, you're taught which is the accelerator, which is the clutch, which is the brake, which is first gear, which is second, where's the indicator, and so on and so forth. You're taught that as you allow the accelerator to go down and the brake to go off at exactly the right speed, it allows for that smooth transition to go forward. You're taught the skills of how to stop the car, how to reverse the car. All of these are examples of just individual skills required to drive a car. Now, if we all consider carefully, a long time ago, those individual skills required to drive the car were ones that were conscious in our mind. We actually thought about every single one of those individual skills. But for many people now, when they drive from location A to location B, it happens very effortlessly. It happens in what I call almost an automatic movement. We go from location A to location B and very rarely think about any of those individual skills. It's just a successful drive most of the time that gets us from A to B, and all of those individual skills are combined together, but not ones that we think about. But if you consider a long time ago, if somebody gave you a key and gave you a car and said, work it out for yourself, we're not going to give you any lessons. What would have happened is A, you may not have been able to start the car at all. So you may have just chosen not to drive. Or B, you may have worked out how to start it, but then continuing that driving experience, you may have bunny hopped, or been very awkward in your transition as you move forward, until you either stalled or you crashed. Now that example is relevant for the way many people socialize. Most people, or many people, socialize in a way where they don't combine, or they're not aware of the combination of all the individual skills required to actually create a positive interaction. We're not actually consciously aware that we're actually reading the eyebrow raises of people and the nostrils flaring out and the change in the voice tone and the body movement and the body action. All of those things are just combined together, and then we go, this is my behavior that's going to follow. And for many of us, that's just something that has happened automatically. Yeah, we go from A, no interaction, to B, having a positive or mostly positive interaction, yeah, but without thinking about all of the individual skills. But if you consider the individual skills required to create a positive interaction, there is many. Yeah, much like driving a car, there is many individual skills required to do that. We need to know how to start the interaction. We need to know how to continue the interaction. We need to know how to end the interaction. We need to know how to read the behaviours and words of other people. Yeah, equally being aware of how our behaviours and words are being read by other people. We need to understand the difference between the intended message, the message we're trying to send, and the interpreted message and how it's actually received. We need to understand what behaviours are expected of us in certain situations. Yeah, but nobody's actually teaching these. It's almost like it's expected. So what's happening for those who naturally have the weakness of social interactions is that they're actually either not able to start the interaction, or if they do start the interaction, they move forward in a very awkward transition until they either stall, don't know where to go next, or crash and create the negative experience. So when I was first working with social skills, I need to revisit all these individual skills of the way in which I and other people interact with other people. I need to observe that I need to teach clients how to greet another person. And just that phrase in of itself is quite complex, because the way you greet your parents and the way you greet your close family and friends and the way you greet your teacher and the way you greet the doctor and the way you greet the shopkeeper are all very different greetings. There's not one standard greeting across all. Yeah, hence the complication with social skills, because there is so many variables involved. So when we're teaching social skills, first and foremost, it's about teaching people to connect to themselves first. And when they're able to connect to themselves first, they are then able to take that connection out to other people and, yes, observe all of these skills required to create the positive interaction, or not, because for many of us we will have crashes, but from that you just learn and you say, okay, how can I learn from that interaction and how can I learn to potentially do it differently next time? But the key with social skills is to microanalyze and never assume that people have the required skills to know how to create the positive interaction, because many, many people of all ages are crashing, but they actually don't know why. So another focus of ours for social skills is never teaching people what they have to do. It's more about teaching people why they're crashing and giving an opportunity to do a different behaviour should they choose to, because it's never a person who's being rejected. It's either the behaviours or words that are being rejected. But rejection hurts. So when we're teaching social skills, it's teaching people that if you choose this repertoire of behaviours, this is how it's likely to be received, either positive or negative from another person. And if people receive a negative message, then often they'll choose not to spend time with us. Yeah, but if people receive a positive message, then more likely it is that they'll choose to spend time with us. But the key is teaching people why they're crashing, not that they have to change their behaviour, but so that they at least have an understanding of why the negative interaction is being received.